Hello, class. How's everybody doing? I hope all of you are enjoying your weekend. And I want to say thank you to all of you who've already put some updates or at least into your discussion questions. And I've got to enjoy many of them a lot. And I thought I would go ahead and provide you with a brief, pretty much highlight on the topic of this week that has to do with teamwork and communication. I've been fortunate to lead teams pretty much all around the world, and I have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to team building. Building teams not only for project purposes, but also coaching several soccer teams and basketball teams. It really gives me an insight on the development of teams, the communication of that good synergy that goes between that goes among the members, and what you may look out for in order for your team to be successful. So today our module will be talking about the differentiation between groups and teams, and also the stages of team development, the importance of effective communication, and the typical communication channels or flows and networks within organizations. And finally, we will address the common risks and ethical issues associated with electronic communication in business. And those not only relevant to the business world, but also relevant whether you are part of a volunteer group, whether you are part of in your community. And believe me or not, this even is evident in family as well, within your own family structure. So, team, let's go ahead and talk about the difference between group and team. Now, a group is comprised of two or more individuals, of course, that's a mixed group, who share common interests or characteristics, and members identify with one another due to similar traits. That is a group. That is different from a team, where a team is a group of people with, they may have different skill sets, different tasks, but they work together on for a common purpose, a common vision, common goal, combining their functions. I like to say they are individuals who come together, they are interdependent, meaning they cannot really be successful alone. So a great example of teams, I would say sport. We have the World Cup right now where we have countries around the world sending their team into the World Cup to compete. Not one player can be successful in the World Cup. It has to be the team. The team does well, they win. The team does not do well, they get to go home. That is eventually what a team is all about. So an example for you is our classroom. Are we a team or are we a group of students? Because we are working individually towards the grade, towards your learning experience, and everybody is contributing separately, I will tell you, you're not a team. You are a group. A team would be if this class was part of a cohort that must achieve something where success and failure affect the whole group. Then usually that is what I would tell you the characteristic of the team. Now we need groups. We need groups. We need a group of people here that you can build. You need a group of people within companies. Like within a company, you have the accounting, you have the sales department, you have the closing department, or you have the marketing department. Individually, those are groups. Those groups are working probably for the same vision of the organization, but their success may be independent. In other words, the marketing team can have a great campaign, they may call that a success. A success. The sales team, if they're able to convert from the marketing program, they will be successful as well. Together, the company may say, our team did a great job. Now, if the marketing team is rejoicing while the sales team has not been able to convert those marketing leads, the groups and the individual groups will experience success or failure, but the company at large fails, right? So these also are examples where you have groups that may operate individually, but together because they're working towards a singular vision or goal, they become a team. So team is important because higher quality outcomes, better context for individuals, mutual support, really what makes it successful. The challenge we have is some managers do not understand what they have. And if you don't know what you have, it is hard for you to take care of it. And if you do not take care of it, you may lose it. So if you're part of a team right now, or if you are if you are leading a team right now, do you know what type of team you have in your hand? Are you a self-managed team, a project team, cross-functional, manager-led, or a virtual team? Now, many of us have gotten to understand or experience the whole notion of virtual team because of COVID. Because you are working remote, by remote, I mean you were not in the office or you were not in a proximity of your coworker, of your teammate, that makes you a virtual worker, not necessarily means a remote worker or what we call a telecommuting worker, which is the technical legal name. If you are working away from an office as your standard, you are telecommuting. That is the technical definition of working what we will call remote. Now, virtual has some type of dependency based because of where you may be. For instance, I live in Oregon. My teammates are most of them in the East Coast, and some of them are also throughout the rest of the world, Asia, EMEA, Africa, and so forth. That's what we call virtual because we cannot be together and we have to interact via what I call the camera of Zoom. Our team, our class is virtual because we are not together. So let's get into the definition. A self-managing is a group of employees working together who are accountable for most of all tasks or all aspects of their task. A self-managing managed team will be kind of, I would tell you, a board of directors, right? Or let's see, another example could be a master class group that come together to get something done. They're not responding to anybody, but to themselves. They set up their goals and they hold each other accountable. That is a self-managing team. You also have in projects, you have agile teams where if you have a dedicated team, you say, okay, here's the vision, here's the goal, you got to figure it out on how you're going to get it accomplished. This will be a self-managed team. Now you have project teams. Project teams, as the name says it, if you have a goal, you have a project, you are planning to employ it, they have the autonomy and the flexibility in the process of meeting their goals. And that's a project team. And I think many of us are kind of familiar with project teams. You have cross-functional teams, which is what I'm very used I have a great understanding of, is the fact that I can set up a project, get resources from different departments to work on the project, and none of the people in the team directly report to me. So I cannot fire them, I cannot promote them, right? However, they all report to me for the purpose of the project. And once they're done, they go back to their direct manager. The benefit of that, as you can see on the screen, you can have people from design and development, production engineering, quality control, production, maintenance. Their managers would have assigned them as a resource towards the project. Thus, we call that a cross-functional team. The other one is what we call the manager-led team. I do have some issues with this type of thing. In many instances, managers fail to realize that they are leading people. So my theory and philosophy is you manage things, you lead people. So manager-led teams have the tendency to micromanage their resources, their people. Therefore, people just do as they are told. They're not creative, they're not innovative, they don't think outside of the box because they respond to the manager. The manager controls everything. You may find that in probably, I'm not saying that's the case, but in most instances, restaurants, in most instances, you find that in the service industry where the workers, they are worker bees. They just work. They ask the manager, tell them to do something, and they do, which is unfortunate because the service industry as well, I know for a fact, also have systems where managers can delegate tasks to the employees or resources, and they use their ingenuity to get things done. So I'm not saying this is the case for a specific industry, It is permeated throughout everywhere, where you have managers who control their teams and they have the autonomy. They think, this is my way or the highway. If you are one of those managers, please, 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 please think about it. It is not fun. And I'm sure you do not appreciate it, right? Then don't do that to other people. And if you are, I think one of our classmates here, if you have a manager who's constantly micromanaging you, you can have a conversation that, hey, you can manage things. Just lead me. Provide me a vision. Provide me a reason to follow you, right? I'm not an object. I do have thoughts. I do have opinions. I do have ideas. I can bring those to the table. Just give me some room. And I think a conversation like that is adequate. It's not disrespectful. It's taking lead for yourself as well and speak up, right? And next, the virtual teams, which I talked at the beginning, which most likely our class, our cohort here, we are a virtual team. Now, I left this question here. I would like for you to think about this. How do you differentiate between a group and a work team? The environment or the situation you are in right now, outside of our class, are you a group or are you a team? If you're a group and the facto thought process is you're a team, what can you do to bring this enlightenment to the team or to the group to let them know, hey, we are a group, but we can be okay? Now let's go to team development and success. How do you develop teams? That's a big one because companies have struggled with this. There's so many seminars on team development. I was recently in Chicago giving this presentation on how do you manage teams right now and the aspect where you have a hybrid environment. Half of your team is on site, half of your team is working remotely, and how do you build that synergy between your team so everybody to get along? Now, the question then even is, how do you develop things? I had the chance to put this into practice during the summertime as I become the head coach of our junior varsity team, where I was new to the team, and you have some junior high schoolers, you also have sophomores and freshmen, and we had 2 months to come together as a team as a class. And the elements I'm going to share with you were the one that helped me develop the team, become a team quick, and then for us to win games. And one of the process is the forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. Many of you may be familiar with this process. What the forming is when people are brought together. So if we were to become a team as a group, the first step is for this group of all of you to come together, right? That's the first step. The forming is the group process, right? Everybody's here now. We're trying to figure out why in the world are we here? What's the vision? Well, once we get here, then we start clarifying the responsibilities. Who's gonna do what? Who's the leader? Who is going to collect the ideas about what to do and how to do it? Yeah, and usually that's where you find the natural born leaders are erupted, right? Because people who always want to be in charge, the type A personalities, they start coming out, they start telling people what to do, even though they don't know what to do, right? And you can also distinguish the real leaders because they are patient, they are considerate of other people, and they listen. And by nature, people start gravitating to them. It is an interesting phenomenon to witness. Then you get norming. People start figure out share values about how team members will work together. And I've done this experience multiple times. Who you are is who you attract. The people you lead, you will find out you have some type of commonality, such as background, education, culture, and so on and so forth. And it is interesting how people gravitate to each other based on those values. And sometimes you don't even know it. That is the beauty of building things. And sometimes people have conflict, they don't even know why. They cannot even explain it. They don't like each other. And they cannot even explain why they don't like each other. So the norming phase, it is important to pay attention to that as well. And then you have the oh my goodness, the performance phase when everything clicks. When have the right people in the right seat to do the right work, wow, it is a beauty. It is amazing. And success, production, everything flows, right? And by the way, those are words to come around because somehow, somewhere, there's always a jerk that tends to mess it up for everybody. And the good thing about teams as well, teams reach the notion of adjourning. It's a concept that once the project is over, the team has reached its purpose and it's being dismantled. Project teams most likely goes through this process. I will tell you, since we recently have an election in the United States about midterm, those political leaders have teams that also they've gone through this process. The adjourning component will be where they will do the celebration if the candidate wins. If the candidate loses, after they start looking for other jobs, right? So the question for the class is what differentiates a successful team from an unsuccessful one? Now, we're not talking about the end result of what the team was working toward. For instance, the political campaign. If the candidate does not win, does that mean you did not have a successful team? Probably not, right? And if you have a team, a basketball team, that did not win the playoff, does that mean they were not a successful team? Not at all. The success for the team have to do with members trusting one another, effective communication, common goals, define the team roles and responsibilities, and the group cohesion. So if members are trusting of each other, then you have what we call team success. If there's effective communication, if the goals are the same, right? I mean, not the same person, but common, everybody's working towards the same goal. And if everybody knows their roles and responsibilities and the group cohesion is usually where you have issues, right? But if do some type of assessment of your team and find out if you're successful, if you're part of a successful team or not. And you can see in the graphic on the screen, the pre-stage forming normally falls under the independence, for the team really needs the leader. The storming and the norming phase go to forming, that's where the team has some type of dependence, right? They're shifting from independence to dependence, and then the return to the independence when it comes to actually. So the most common complaint when people work in teams is that some people do more work than others. Think about that as you're in your team right now. What ideas or structures and norms that you may develop to address those concerns? And then it gets us to what we call communication and barriers. Wow, this one is big because communication at its fundamental have this component where you have a sender, you have what I call the process or the decoder, and you have a receiver. Sender, decoder, receiver. I say something processes it, and someone receives it. While I was in Chicago, I was talking to a colleague, and she was about to get her haircut, and I told her, oh, wow, I don't know what your haircut is telling me. She had it as a ponytail, and she brought it down and trying to figure out what style. And I said, if you were working, if you were, I'm sorry, if you were walking on the street and I passed by you, I wonder what your hairstyle would have communicated to me. What she heard was what she heard that I said was, if you were working the street. And you can tell she did not really take that. She was very upset. And I was like, wow, why are you so upset? And she said, no, I'm not working in the street. I'm like, who told you you were working in the street? She said, you just said that. I'm like, no, I said, if you were walking, walking in the street and I pass by you, what will your hairstyle communicate to me? And that was a very casual conversation that somehow I sent the message, However, my accent somehow distorted that message, and she did not get the message very well. And of course, that led to the miscommunication. So when you talk to somebody, always ask the question, did I hear that? Or don't say this is what so and so said. Always ask your, tell yourself, this is what I heard. I'm not saying that's what you said, but that's what I heard. Because don't forget, as you're decoding that information, you have your own bias, you have your own history, you have your own background that is decoding what the person said. So when somebody says something and you get upset, before you get upset, ask yourself the question, did you hear correctly? Or give the person the benefit of the doubt and ask them, is that what you said? Because this is what I heard. And you may find out that's not what they said. It was all you, right? So this is very important when it comes to business communication because you're talking about internal communication, you're talking about a group of people that may use jargon, they may withhold some information, they can give you little tidbits, they can even lead you into something by withholding information. You also have chain of command. And as managers, as leaders, please do understand your words have power. Don't just say anything that comes to your mind because you may be in the process of getting the information, processing the information before you tell somebody about it. But because you just release it, right? And that's not business like. You may be going through your own difficulties. Stop before you talk. And if you have to write an email, that's even worse because emails, for some reason, capture our emotions and spew them out. Even if you tell somebody, good morning, versus, hey, good morning, versus, good morning, versus, mm, good morning, right? They same word, but different, right? And communication is all about our body language. What makes it challenging is now we have this barrier that we are communicating through Zoom, right? And many of you may be hearing this video, you may hear something, you did not hear it very well. So stop, rewind, play it again. What I'm trying to say is effective communication, there are barriers that are already fundamental that's not has nothing to do about you, right? But if you're aware of those barriers, plus your own barriers, such as your bias, your filter, your language, cultural differences, and I read some of you guys' posts about different culture. Think about it. If think about your purpose. If your goal is to talk to me so I can understand so that I can understand what you're saying, please put some work in it so that I can understand what you're saying. Just like me, I put some work so you can understand the words that are coming out of my mouth, right? So that's the whole notion of business communication. You have to be mindful. You have to work at it. You cannot just do it. So hopefully this really kind of helps you guys. And there are several communication channels, flows, and networks. And we can talk about the rich channels such as that provide opportunities for two-way communication, allow both senders and receivers to read the nonverbal messages. That's why I wanted to do this video so you guys can see me and see my body language on doing this presentation for you. The challenge and the benefit sometimes is I get to talk without interruption, which I get to finish my thought. In many instances, communication channels are broken down because people, when they hear something in the conversation, they're not hearing what you're saying. You can say something and they're thinking about how to respond. In the process of thinking what to respond, they miss everything else that you may have said, right? So it's you may write things down, but allow people to finish their thoughts. Allow people to finish their thoughts. And this will probably really help. So we talk about rich communication, face to face, in person, or presentation. Then you can say, hold up, after the person is done. I've heard you said this. Is that correct? You have rich channels, online meetings, video conference. I wish some of you will be able to join me in the Zoom meeting so that we can have some rich communication. Lean channels, teleconference, phone call, voice message, video, FaceTime. Leanness channels, you have blog reports, brochure, newsletter. Those are some of those, it's like the one-way communication. Not that they're not good, because sometimes that's all you have, but they're not as effective, they're not as rich. So communication channels we have right now, web-based, emails, letters, presentations, and this does not have what I call the what you have the social media, which is also another component. I'm not sure how many of you are using Slack, Chat, Microsoft Link, Google Hangout, and all those things are team communication channels, and you can select them based on the audience type. So, for instance, this class we talk via Canvas board, right? The Canvas board. So that one, it doesn't really, it's not as a two-way communication. It does not really portray probably what you want to say. And I give all of you guys, feel free. I probably should have mentioned that at the beginning. You can submit a video for your discussion question, not your assignment, your discussion question. And I'm fine with that, because then you will be talking to me, and if you submit your discussion question via video, 5 minutes, right? Maximum. Let's just say you ask a question or you insert of your submit question. You don't need to write anything. Seriously, I will give you the full point, because think about it. I can see you. I can see your rationale. The only drawback, some of you that just give me the 2-line, 3-liners, it probably not effective for you, because it will tell me communication is this, and it's over, right? So that probably will not be as effective, but I welcome video messages as well. So how do you choose the channel, complexity of the message, degree of the communication, and also think about your communication flow. Think about the type of communication flow as well, the downward, upward, horizontal, diagonal, and external communication. And keep in mind the formal and informal communication. Yeah, some communication talking to your boss may be a bit formal. Writing to stakeholders, since you guys talking about business, if you have investors who want to invest in your business, you have to be formal. Like your business plan, it has to be formal, right? It has to be formal. But informal communication will be social affiliation, like in this forum, I'm okay for you to be informal. But in your business plan, I highly recommend that you are formal. And this on the screen outline what formal communication may be, what is formal communication. There are so many different types. It's good to, I'm not gonna go through all of them, giving you some time to read them, and you can pause the video to really address them. And I'm gonna skip up the question, then we can really end our module today talking about communication. And I hope you after this session that's gonna help you, because I'm more about you being effective in the real world versus submit a discussion question, to be honest with you. And you could see the notion about communication, and notwithstanding the risk that's involved, the ethical component of it, by using electronic communication. And again, keep in mind, please, if you're using social media, everything you post stays there. Okay, you cannot delete things on the internet. If somebody told you could delete a post, but guess what? It stays on the server. Everything that your digital footprint stays there. So keep that in mind. And because some employers, they check your online, your social media, they'll really figure out who you are. And if you're gonna put digital footprint, let it be very positive, and let it be uplifting to other people. This is it. I hope I was able to effectively communicate to you this whole notion of groups and teams, the different type of teams, the stages of team development, what we consider as team success, effective communication, and the different communication channel flows, the risk associated with communication and risk. I thank you all for listening to this, and please let me hear your feedback, right? And as we get closer to the end of the class, I hope you had the chance to learn not only from the videos, but from all your readings and from each other, and wishing you success in your business plan. And hopefully I get to have you in another class. Talk to you later. Bye.